Well, I think I'm live. Hello, everyone. And the camera's over here. I've got to look over here and not look at myself. Hi, everyone. Dr. Tom O'Brien, and nice to be with you again. If you're out there and if you can hear this okay, please give me a little wave or something so I know you're there, so I'm not talking to myself, which I tend to do way too much. Oh, hello. Yeah, great. Hi, Misty. Oh, it's great to see you again. Thank you so much. And Michelle, and hi, Michelle. Cute little doggy you got there, Michelle, for your picture. Thanks, Misty. Oh, thanks for the hearts. That's great. Today, our topic is, why is medication not really a solution for autoimmune diseases? And I think, hi, Lena, most of you could probably give this talk to one degree or another, but I'm hoping if you find that there's some really good points here, hey, Hubert, if you find there's some really good points, that you will share this with your people. Look, here's the thing. I'm going to start with this. I'm like a broken record with this. I'm so sorry to be a broken record, but somebody's got to do it, you know? And so that's the role that I'm taking on now, and I'm the one that's going to do it. And that is to talk about the state of our planet and the state of our health. So you've heard me say, I think, if you've been here before, the World Wildlife Fund published a study that between 1970 and 2012, there has been on average a 58% loss of all vertebrate species, everything that's got a spine on the planet. 58% of the birds, the fish, the mammals, the insects, 58% of everything is gone. Now, in the subcategories, the terrestrials, the birds, it was 35 or 36%. For the vertebrates that live near fresh water, it's 78%. 78% of everything that lives near fresh water is gone. Why? They're drinking the water. And if you were drinking the water coming out of the streams, you'd get cancer quicker. You'd be unable to reproduce just like the animals. Now, that in itself is enough to, well, you know, when I first heard it, it made me numb. So if you're numb right now, thinking, yeah, well, maybe he'll get to something that I'm interested in. If you're numb, let me give you the second study that's really important. And that came out a few months ago. It's a meta-analysis. That's when you look at a whole bunch of studies on one topic. And they looked at the topic of sperm count in healthy men, not in fertile men, in healthy men. And between 1974 and 2011, that's 37 years. The other one was 42 years. This is 37 years. In 37 years, there has been, in 186 studies, that's the meta-analysis. They looked at 186 studies, 186 research teams spending months to study this stuff, collecting sperm counts, sperm from everybody. And you imagine, can you imagine what that's like to be doing thousands of sperm tests, right? All of that work to tell us in the meta-analysis, 59% loss of sperm count across the planet right now. Scientists worry about extinction of the species at 72%. We're at 59% in 37 years. It wasn't like that before 1970. The average man today has 1/3 the testosterone his grandfather had at the same age. 1/3. We have to wake up, and we have to, I call it a paradigm shift. We have to change the way that we think about our health. Completely change. I have to keep remembering to look over here. I'm sorry. I keep looking at me because there's where the action is. I got to look at you guys. So I'm remembering. But then the messages are over on the other side of my phone, so I've got to look over there every once in a while and say, hi, Ija, and Kim, hugs from Houston. Oh, thanks, Kim. That's really nice. Thank you. So we have to wake up to this. So I'm saying this again, if you've heard me say it before, because I'm hoping that if you find what I'm about to say about autoimmune diseases of relevance, that you will go out of your way. You'll be a little uncomfortable. You'll kind of put your toe in the water of intruding a little bit in someone you know who may be suffering from, who's calling from Italy? Monica Buffalini. Monica, thank you so much. Ciao. Thank you so much. Thank you. Someone just tried to call me on my phone. I don't know how to stop that from happening. But thank you, Monica. Thank you. So I'm hoping that if you find this 20 minutes, 30 minutes of value, that you will put your toe in the water and be willing to be a little awkward and uncomfortable with someone you know that may be suffering from autoimmune disease, and just suggest that they listen to this Facebook Live for what I'm about to say. The only way we can make a change on this planet is if we all do a little bit more than what we're doing. Because what we're doing is not enough. It's, we're going down. So we all need to be this much involved. You don't have to be a zealot. You don't have to sound like a nutcase the way I sound to some people. That's okay. I don't mind. But we all can do a little bit more. If you know somebody with rheumatoid or with MS or with Hashimoto's thyroid disease or that's got brain deterioration, it's when people are sick enough to get a diagnosis that they finally are willing to listen. Unfortunately, I wish that people would listen earlier, but they ought. Got to look over here. They don't. They wait until they're sick enough, and then it becomes important. So with all of that in mind, let's get to it. So someone commented earlier today, we put a post up about brains. Babies' brains and mothers with breastfeeding. And there were a number of comments that came up about it. It was kind of like a, what? What was that you just said? And can you tell me more? So I'm just going to give you a sense. You've all heard me say before that if you pull at a chain, it breaks at the weakest link. It's at one end, the middle, the other end. It's your heart, your brain, your liver, your kidneys, wherever your genetic weak link is, that's where the chain's going to break, right? So I want to give you a sense of where one of the weak links are, which set us up so that the incidence of autism is as high as it is today and getting higher all the time. Louisa? Good, we're here. I'm sorry. There was some message on my screen, and I don't know. Hubert, you have to tell me what to do when there's a message on the screen. So I just almost lost everybody. So this is to give you a sense of where the weak link in the chain may come from. So they published a study in 2012, and they looked at a bunch of mothers. How many mothers? Let me see if I can tell you just how many mothers did they look at here. Between 1975 and 1985, they looked at 739 pregnant women. No, I'm sorry, 1,553 pregnant women. But 660 of them did not respond to the reach out, and so it was 739 in the study. And they drew these mothers' blood to see how many of them had elevated antibodies to wheat. And specifically alpha-gliadin, and many of you know that's only one component of wheat, but to the alpha-gliadin component. Sophie, hello from Italy and Ireland. Hello, Italy and Ireland. Okay, and Vasco from Bulgaria. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. So by the way, I'm going to give you all this study so that you can look at it. Marzi will post the link here, and you can get the study. It's free. It's set up there for you, so you can get the study for free. It's a geeky study, but this is something that you may want to look at. But I'll explain it here. So they looked to see how many of these women had elevated antibodies to wheat. Then they found out how many did. 30 years later, they follow up with them to see what's the health status of their kids who are now young adults. And what did they find? They found that the women that were in the top 10% of antibodies to wheat, if pregnant mom had elevated antibodies to wheat, and in the top 10% of those antibodies, their children were 70% more likely to have developed a non-affective disorder like schizophrenia 30 years later. 70% more likely. If mom was in the top 5% of antibodies to wheat, it was 250%, not 10%, not 20%, 250% more likely their child was on the non-affective disorder syndrome. And what does that mean, non-affective disorder? It includes a few diagnoses. And I wanted to tell you what these were. Schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, persistent delusional disorders, induced delusional disorder, acute and transient psychotic disorders, unspecified non-organic psychosis, schizotypal disorder, schizoaffective disorder, delusional disorders, reactive psychoses, acute and transient psychotic disorders. 250% more likely that a 30-plus-year-old young adult developed these disorders if mom had elevated antibodies to wheat in pregnancy. This is like, what? What? And the title of the article is Maternal Antibodies to Dietary Antigens and the Risk for Non-Affective Psychoses in Offspring. This article is waiting for you, so you can click on it and download it. So what's the importance of this article? When I talk about this on stage to doctors, they sit there and they go, what? What is this? What? And then I show a slide and I say, so what's the significance of this? Every woman of childbearing age, every woman, especially those with a family history of any mental dysfunction, anxiety, depression, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, schizophrenia, any of those, they get checked for elevated antibodies to wheat before they get pregnant. Before. So that if you have elevated antibodies to wheat and there's a family history here, I would say to you, Mrs. Patient, we're going to do everything we can to make sure that when you are ready to have babies, that your body is ready to go, just as strong and healthy as can be. But right now, there's a risk factor here. So let's work on getting these antibodies to wheat down and then get pregnant. It'll take 6 months to a year. And so you counsel these people so that they have a chance to reduce this ridiculously high risk factor of 250%. So I wanted to elaborate a little more on the baby brain from breastfeeding concept. Now, this was while mom was pregnant, but of course, if mom has a sensitivity to wheat and mom's breastfeeding, those wheat molecules that are inflammatory go right through the breast milk to baby. The studies started coming out on that back in the 1990s. And so, babies that are colicky, why do you think a baby is screaming and they're pulling their knees up like their gut hurts? Well, why does their gut hurt? Well, the first thing is to see what are we putting down into the baby's gut to make it hurt, right? And if you're looking to see what did you put down into baby's gut to make it hurt, the first thing is the foods they're getting or mom's breast milk. So then you look to see what is mom eating that mom may be sensitive to and her body's not screaming in pain, but it's enough of an irritant for that tender young baby's body that they're screaming in pain, right? Okay, so that's enough on babies' brains. I'll do a whole thing on babies' brains in the future. Marzi just posted the study. There's the link for you. It's there. Download it later. It's not going away. It'll be there for you because if you download it now, you're going to lose me or, you lose the screen. And what I have to say is important. So I hope so. I hope you guys think this is important and you share this with the world. We got to change the direction of where we're going. So I need all of your help for that. Okay, today's topic. Mrs. Patient, when you go to see the doctor and you've got a symptom, thank you for the hearts, thank you. When you go to see the doctor, you've got a particular symptom, diabetes or obesity, recurrent miscarriages, migraines, your child's got seizures. It doesn't matter what the symptoms are. Oh, thank you. It doesn't matter what the symptoms are. When you go to see the doctor, it's like you've fallen over a waterfall down into the pond below, and you swim up to the surface and you go, you spit out the water so that you can breathe. And now you're trying to stay afloat in the pond of diabetes. You're trying to stay afloat in the pond of recurrent miscarriages or migraines or whatever your symptoms are. But the water's really turbulent because the waterfall keeps falling down into the pond. So the water's very turbulent. Your biochemistry is very turbulent. It's not stable. It's not healthy. You're going to the doctor for symptoms, whatever they are. Everybody's looking for the life jacket that they can put on so they can stay afloat in the pond of diabetes, in the pond of high blood pressure, in the pond of migraines, in the pond of PMS, in the pond of infertility. It doesn't matter what the symptoms are. Everyone's looking for the life jacket. I call that life jacket medicine. And if you go to a functional medicine practitioner, you get the life jacket medicine that has least side effects, right? That's the goal of all functional medicine practitioners, is to use the medications you need to, use the vitamins you need to, use the diets that you need to, that's going to help the patient with their presenting complaints, the symptoms, but also is going to not have tremendous side effects. So you want the lowest side effects possible that you can find. That's life jacket medicine, and that's helpful, and that's necessary, and we really want that. However, what you have, you can't live in the pond of diabetes because they're called comorbidities, all the side effects that happen down the road, the high blood pressure, the increased heart attacks, the increased strokes, the increased Alzheimer's-like symptoms when you have diabetes. You know, the list goes on, and the doctor thinks, oh, you're being successful, your blood sugar's stable, you still get Alzheimer's down the road. Right? So it's not as successful a treatment as we are led to believe because you still wear down quickly. So what you need is the life jacket that keeps you afloat in the pond of your symptoms. Then you have to swim over to the side of the pool, get out of the water, walk up the hill, go back upriver, and figure out what the heck fell in the river that caused you to go downstream and fall over the waterfall. And what you'll find is there's food sensitivities, there's heavy metal toxicity, there's poor development of tissue, there's environmental toxins, mercury and lead and cadmium and bisphenol A and red dye number 3. And you know, one of the types of Alzheimer's is called inhalation Alzheimer's. Where that comes from is the air you're breathing goes right through your lungs into your bloodstream, right up to the brain. And it causes the inflammation in the brain that eventually becomes Alzheimer's for those people. So you have to go upstream to figure out what the heck fell in the river and what's causing your body to have its biochemistry so far out of balance that you're going over the hill, over the waterfall, crashing into the pond below. And of course we want life jacket medicine. Of course we do. But we need more than that. So that's the primary reason why medications aren't the answer with autoimmune diseases. They're helpful. They're really helpful, but they don't stop the progression. And you still suffer what's called the comorbidities. So what do you do about this? Well, the first thing you do is get my book. Shameless plug, shameless plug. Get this book. Because, oh, thanks for all the little stars. And thank you, thank you. Why? Because it's all explained in here how to start thinking differently. We have to change the paradigm of how we think. With the numbers of what's happening in our culture today or on our planet today, killing off the species, we have to change the paradigm of how we think. Saw a woman today with her 2 young girls at the local restaurant that I go to here. And she's one of those, you know, she shaves the side of her head, this woman, and she wears like weird looking clothes, not my kind of clothes. You know, she's probably, I don't know, 28, 30, but always nicely dressed, but different, kind of out there, a little extreme. And her kids have all this weird stuff on. But you know what? I've talked to her before. She's the best mom ever because she talks to her kids. She lets them think outside the box. She asks them questions. What do they think about things when they're sitting at the table eating? It's just wonderful, wonderful to see, you know. And what it reminded me today, it's what Einstein said, you know, that the problems we've created today cannot be solved with the same level of thinking that created the problem. So we have to up our game. And us older folks, we're pretty rigid in how we think. We've got our frame of how we process information. It's the next generation that's going to make all the difference, right? And so that's who we need to talk to is the kids. We have to get the kids thinking differently to figure out how to fix these problems, then at this point, there's no way to fix the environmental problem. Scientists are saying there's no way, and they're talking about extinction of the species in 50 years. These are the research papers that are coming out now that those in charge are saying are pseudoscience or fake news, while they are now opening up 2 million acres for more drilling for oil that's only going to last at the most 10 or 20 years until it's drained, but billions of dollars of profit and just destroy the environment. So, figure it out. How are we going to stop all of this? The only way we can stop it is by teaching our kids to think differently, by creating the environment so they think different than we think. They'll figure it out, but we have to create the environment for them. How do you create the environment for a good brain? Mom can't have wheat if she's sensitive to wheat in pregnancy or in breastfeeding, because it passes through to the child. It can cause the inflammation in the child's brain, and their brain doesn't develop properly. That's just one of the mechanisms, but I wanted to give you that research paper today so that you could look at that and you could start kind of chewing on this concept and think of, wow, I never thought about that before. That's really interesting. So if you find this of value, what we're doing here, please put your toe in the water of what might be uncomfortable for you and share this with people that you care about. Whether it's your family or your extended family, a cousin that's been diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, or a nephew that's losing his hair or has psoriasis. Share this information, perhaps this video, and perhaps they will say, oh, that makes sense about Over the Waterfall. I want to learn more. I'm going to get this book, which you can get on theDr.com, theDr.com. Just don't spell the word doctor out, theDr.com. And the link is there. It takes you right to Amazon to get the book, but then there's some handouts that you can also download for free there that help you with some more tools for the book. So Joan is asking, what about LDN? Well, Michelle, thank you for your comment. Michelle Woods, thank you so much. LDN stands for low-dose naltrexone. I've been a speaker, a keynote speaker for the low-dose naltrexone conference for the last 3 years. The other speakers are just tremendous at what they're presenting of arresting cancer, getting rid of pain from cancer. LDN is a very safe drug, very, very few potential side effects, very, very few, and its benefits work in a way very similar to CBD from hemp. And that's a whole issue that we'll talk about sometime next year, is, CBD from hemp, from the marijuana plant. But there's no psychoactives, no psychedelics in CBD. It's the other components of the plant that have those psychedelics. So LDN works on the same receptor sites. They're called endocannabinoid receptor sites. So with cancers and autoimmune diseases and pain, it's a very effective tool, but it's a life jacket. It's a really good life jacket with very little side effects, but it's a life jacket. So when you find the life jacket that helps you feel better, you don't stop there living the same lifestyle, having the same toxicity if it's already in your body of mercury poisoning or whatever it is, or keep eating the same foods. You don't keep going over the waterfall because now you've got a life jacket and you're okay in the water. Because it's going to hit you somewhere down the road. That's called comorbidities. Other symptoms you get, like a heart attack or a stroke or brain deterioration and Alzheimer's. So don't be fooled by life jacket medicine where you're feeling better and so you think you're okay now. Oh, my blood sugar's stable as you eat another ding dong. Are you kidding me? Wake up. All right, I'll stop there. That's pretty bad. That is pretty bad. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I really enjoy your feedback's really important. So give us your comments here. Take a moment, put some comments down, and please put your toe in the water and share this with others. All right? Thank you so much. See you next time. Bye-bye.